Assalamu alaikum students. How are you? Hope you all are fine. Today we are going to start with our first chapter of SST, that is history, when, where and how. Before starting this lesson, I would like to ask you some questions. My first question is, what is history? In your previous class in grade 6, we have learned history, when, where and how. So what is history? Tell me, what is history? History is nothing but the inquiry or investigation into the past. Okay, my second question is, why do we need to study the past, or why do we need to study the history? Think and tell me. Yes, to know how, where, when our early ancestors they appeared, then how agriculture, irrigation, everything started, how people started living a settled and a secure life. Now, our learning objective means today in this lesson we are going to learn about the medieval period of Indian history. History. So, we have learned in our previous class what is history and how many parts it is divided. Can you recall it? Yes, it is divided into three parts: ancient history, medieval history, and modern history. In our previous class, that is in grade 6, we have learnt about the ancient history. Now, in grade 7, we are going to learn about the medieval history. Each period it is distinguished by a specific characteristics, or you can say development. The actual duration of the medieval period it varies from different regions to region. The medieval period in Europe, uh, it lasted between 600 and 1400 CE, and the medieval period in India it extended from 700 to 1700 CE, which is exactly 1,000 years. Now you can see the image which is given below, the timeline of early medieval period and the later medieval period. Just go through the timeline, see what they have given there. Now let's see the different terms which were used to describe the Indian subcontinents. Like know already, we know that India, it is uh, people they call India by different names. Like you must have heard your grandparents, their grandparents, they must be calling India with different names like Bharat or Hindustan. Same way, now how these names they were given to the Indian subcontinents, we will see. The first one is the Bharatavarsha and Jambudvipa. How these names they were given to the Indian subcontinents, we will see. In the ancient period, India, it was referred to by names such as Bharatavarsha and Jambudvipa. It is said in the Vishnu Purana of the Hindus that the country which was lying to the north of the ocean and the south of the Himadri is Himalayas, is called the Bharatavarsha, and the area or the land which was in the south of Asia was called Jambudvipa. Now the Jambudvipa is also called the land of rose apple tree. We come to the next one, that is Aryavarta. To denote the northern part of India which was lying between the Himalayas and the Vindhyas. The land which was lying between the Himalayas and the Vindhyas is called the Aryavarta. Aryavarta, you can also call it as the land of Aryas. Then we come down to the next one, that is Hindustan. Now this name is still used in India, and therefore it is important to know how this name came about, or how this name was given to India. We know the river Indus, or it is called as Sindhu, and its five tributaries, they form the western frontier of India. Sindhu was a name which could not be pronounced correctly by the people such as the Iranis, the Afghans, and the Turks, and the Mughals. Means they pronounce the letter S as H. So instead of Sindhu, they pronounce the river name as Hindu, and hence the name Hindustan, the land of the river Hindu. Now we come down to the next one, that is India. India is the present name of our country, and it is derived from the river name Indus. Now let's see the next part of the lesson, that is change over 1,000 years. What change came after 1,000 years, we will see. Historians, they use different types of sources to learn about the past. Now depending upon the period of their study and the nature of their investigation. Now these sources are, it can be in different forms. But before that, we will see what are actually sources. Sources are the collection of evidence or proof from the past. Historical sources are a foundation to understand a particular era back in time. These particular sources, they help us to gain knowledge about important events, inventions, cultures, civilization, and many other aspects about society. Still, we rely on the coins, the inscriptions, or the textual information or architecture which were excavated from the past for information. Now these sources, they can be divided into two groups. One is the archaeological source, and the other one is the literary source. The first one is the archaeological source. Archaeological source means what? They can be remains of pots, or you can say humans or animals from the past. All these are known as the archaeological sources. And the study of the history through the material remains of the human life is known as archaeology. And the person who studies human history and the prehistory through the excavation of sites and the analysis of artifacts and other physical remains, he is called as the archaeologist. Now let's see the next part of our lesson. Now this particular archaeological source, they are divided into different parts like monuments, paintings, sculptures, inscriptions, and coins which were excavated or which were found by the archaeologists from the past. In that, the first one is monument. What are monuments? Can you give me any one example of the famous monument which is in India? Yes, Taj Mahal. Historical monuments, or you can say buildings such as palaces, temples, forts, mosques, or you can say tombs or clock towers and so on. These particular things, they help us to reconstruct the past. These particular monuments or the old buildings which are of historical importance, they provide us an idea about the technical advancement and prosperity of the empire in which they were constructed. Now, here are some famous monuments of India. Qutub Minar, then we have the Humayun's tomb, then we have the Jama Masjid, Red Fort, and Taj Mahal. These are the famous monuments of India. Now, these particular monuments, they provide us information about the architectural skills of the workers and the material which was used for the construction, the mode of transport, as well as the culture and the religious belief during this time. Now we come down to the next archaeological source, that is inscription. Inscription, you have learned in your grade 6. Can you tell me what are inscriptions? Yes, inscriptions are the writings which are engraved on solid surfaces such as metals or rocks, then pillars and stone structures. Now, these particular inscriptions they are written in various languages and scripts and may record different royal proclamage, religious instructions, and gifts to the temple. Now, these inscriptions, they tell us about the social and economic condition of the people, and sometimes they even provide us with different list or the names of the kings and their genealogy. Here is one picture. It is the inscription on a temple wall during the Cholas range. Now we come to the next archaeological source, that is coins. Every one of you must have seen a coin. What is written on the coin? Have you seen a coin properly? What is marked on the coins? Yes, date, and the coin is from which country, which year it was created. So these coins, they tell us about the polity and economy of a period. The coins, they shed a light on the art, religion, economic condition, and trade of a particular region. Now, these particular coins, they were made of different metals or alloys, and they give us information on scientific advancement also. Here are some pictures of different coins of different dynasties or different region. The first one, you can see the coins of Gupta dynasty. Then we have this Mauryan Empire coin. We have the Mughal dynasty's coin also. And the below one is the Chola dynasty. Now next, let's see the next part of the lesson, that is sculpture and painting. Sculptures. What are sculptures actually? You can say, or you can call them as statues. Now, the sculptures and paintings, they also provide us information or valuable information about the medieval India. The picture you can see, the bronze sculpture of the Nataraja, the dancing Shiva. This particular sculpture, it represents the dancing Shiva. Then the paintings, they reflect themes of religion, forest life, court scenes. You can see in the picture a court scene is there. Then the mythological stories, life of the people and the food habits of that time. You can see in the picture the forest theme. Now we come down to the next part of our source, the second part, that is the literary source. Now this literary source is divided again into two parts, religious literature and secular literature, or you can say it as non-religious literature. Religious literatures, it is the writing that are related to a particular religion, writing that are religious in context and theme. You can see the examples below: Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, Tripitakas. All these things we have learned in our previous class, that is grade 6. Then we come down to the secular literature. Secular literature are the books or the text that are not of religious nature. It can be a traveler's account, court chronicle, biographies, or some other book, but which are not related to any religion. The first one, the first literary source we come to is the autobiographies or biographies. Biographies such as the Prithviraj Raso, it was written by Chand Bardai. Then Humayun'Nama by Gulbadan Begum, and autobiographies such as Babarnama or Tuzik-e-Babri. All these particular books, they were biographies written by the people. Then we have the Firoz Shah Tughlaq. He wrote the autobiography known as Futuhat-e-Firoz Shahi. We come down to the next part, that is court chronicles. Court chronicles, they are particularly related to the history of dynasties of different periods which were related to their court, means how they used to run their country or their state or their region. We have an example here, Abdul Qadri's Badauni's Muntakab ut Tawarik, or the selection of the chronicles. This is one court chronicle which was written by Al Bidoni. Then we have the next one, that is Birani's Tariq-e-Firoz Shahi. Then Ibn Battuta, he was a traveler and a scholar from Morocco. He visited India during the rule of the Tughlaqs, and he wrote the Rihla, or you can say travels, which tells us about the geography of India. The next one is India by Al-Biruni. It is also called as Tariq-e-Hind, which was written around 1030 CE. Then we have the religious literature. The medieval period of Indian history was also characterized by the period of Bhakti and Sufi movements. During this period, the medieval period, religious texts like the Ramayana, Mahabharata, they were also translated into regional languages, into different languages. Now we come down to the next one, that is the regional literature. Now this particular regional literature of a period was highly acclaimed in the form of stories, in the form of poems, dramas such as Jayadeva's Gita Govinda, and Chand Bardai's Prithviraj Raso. These books were also written in different languages such as Marathi, Urdu, Tamil, Persian, Kannada, Arabic, and some European languages also. Now let's see about the calligraphy. Everyone knows about the calligraphy. What is a calligraphy? Calligraphy is nothing but the art of writing alphabets in artistic manner. And this example you can see is the calligraphy on the Qutub Minar. Now let's sum up what we have learned today. In today's session, we have learnt about the different terms which were used to describe the Indian subcontinents. Then we learned about the archaeological source, the literary source. We learned that archaeological source, it was divided into different categories like the monuments, inscriptions, coins, sculptures, paintings. And literary source, we learned that it is divided into two, that is religious literature and non-religious, or you can call it as secular literature. Hope this lesson was easy for you. We'll meet you in the next session. Thank you.